Premier League insider David Ornstein. David, sad story. Enock Mwepu, a 24-year-old midfielder from Brighton, forced into early retirement today because of a heart condition. What else can you share here?
Paul, this is terribly disappointing for Enock Mwepu. Sorry, I'm just hearing myself back. I don't know if I can be sorted. If you can hear me properly, apologies. He's suffering from a hereditary heart condition that's said to get worse later in life. And unfortunately, the medical assessment suggested that it posed a very serious and extremely high risk of a fatal cardiac event if he was to continue playing competitive football, and therefore medics said they were left with no choice. I think Brighton went to great lengths and undertook a lot of testing to make sure they had plenty of second opinions on this, and unfortunately they've been left with no choice. He started to feel ill, Enock Mwepu, on a recent trip during the international break to Mali, where his team, Zambia, were playing. He spent time in hospital in Mali, then came back to Brighton for further tests. And this unusual condition was detected. It had not been detected in usual heart screening. And so we've seen some very heartfelt statements from Mwepu himself, who says he will continue to be involved in the game in some form, and also the Brighton chairman, Tony Bloom, the manager, Roberto De Zerbi, and also Brighton's head of medical. We remember that conditions have hit the likes of Christian Eriksen at the Euros last summer. Sergio Aguero also had to retire because of complaints about his chest discomfort. Marc-Vivien Foé in 2003 actually passed away as a result of a collapse on the pitch, and Fabrice Muamba too in 2012. So what is good here is that his life is preserved, and we wish him all the best.
Yes, well told there. Unfortunate story there. We move from a retired player to some of the managers that we're thinking about in the Premier League. Let's start with Nottingham Forest Steve Cooper, who will be coaching here at the top of the hour. 5-game losing streak, but did get a new contract late last week. So they are still in last place. What does all this mean for his job security this season?
Well, an extraordinary turn of events at Nottingham Forest last week. Just when it seemed that Steve Cooper may be heading for the sack, he was given a new deal that extends his time at Nottingham Forest until 2025. But I think it is fair to say that if results go in the wrong direction for Steve Cooper starting tonight, then Evangelos Marinakis, the Nottingham Forest owner, could still take the decision to part company with Steve Cooper. When you speak to people around football, you get the sense that if the right alternative candidates had been available to Nottingham Forest, then he may have lost his job and somebody else may have come in. But in the circumstances, actually, Steve Cooper benefited from that. And I would say deservedly so. He's a fantastic guy and a really good, highly rated coach who has caught the eye of other clubs, it must be said. The likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers and Southampton were heavily linked with him. He's very highly thought of at the Football Association. They've signed 23 players at the cost of more than £150 million. So I think everyone would say it would take a bit of time to settle in. He deserves time. And also, he's very popular with the fans and players. And that's when I'll flip it over to tonight's opponent, somebody he knows well from, they both used to work at Liverpool, Steven Gerrard. The fans there at Aston Villa have been getting restless. The owners, Nassif Sawaris and Wes Edens, the Egyptians and US respectively, are extremely wealthy. They're extremely ambitious and they expect better from Steven Gerrard. They want to be leading this former European champion of a club back to the top of European football. I think they would like to get through at least until the World Cup, but be in no doubt that there is severe pressure on Steven Gerrard. He's lost his trusted assistant, Michael Beale, who went to QPR in the summer. They've had cruel luck with injuries too. Some of their signings haven't quite worked out. So some people are saying whoever loses this match could be sacked. Let's see how it develops.
That World Cup break that you mentioned is about a month away. Are there any other managers, or I guess what other managers are on the hot seat between now and then?
Yeah, Paul, the 13th of November is when the last Premier League fixtures take place, and that's being seen as the date that clubs want to get through to, because then they have a month to decide if they're going to make a managerial change and plan for the January transfer window. There is, of course, pressure on Southampton as well. They've been on a really rotten run of form, and there has been speculation in the media that Ralph Hasenhüttl is set to lose his job. My understanding from speaking to people at Southampton is that that is not imminent. They are still behind him, and they do have a vision altogether that they're continuing with. Now, they're under no impression that he'll be the manager for many, many years to come in terms of 3, 4, 5 years' time. He's under contract until 2024. And with so much change at ownership level, the head of recruitment has altered as well. Lots of young players coming in. I think they will seek at some point a new manager to take them forward. But for now, I'm told Ralph Hasenhüttl is not on the verge of being sacked, although we've seen in football how quickly these things can change. Elsewhere, Brendan Rodgers remains under pressure. Another disappointing defeat by Bournemouth, but there would be a big compensation issue there at Leicester if he was to be sacked. And so he lives to fight another day. Talking of Bournemouth, since they sacked their manager, Scott Parker, having lost 9-0 at Liverpool, they've done really well under Gary O'Neill. They've gone 5 unbeaten. They've got new investment in the form of the American billionaire Bill Foley and his £120 million takeover of the club. And that's maybe an example to some of the clubs that you can change and do well. So we are coming into what contacts and sources are describing to me as sacking season in the Premier League. I don't think any of those managers we've discussed will be sitting comfortably. I don't think a contract is worth what it's written on. However, they are still in position for now, and it's intriguing to see how it develops in the days, weeks, maybe even hours ahead.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.